Good evening, everyone. This is John Caldwell here with the results of WWE Survivor Series for all of you who missed it. A very memorable Survivor Series that is shrouded in controversy. Now, before I get into the results, there were some changes in the card. Mandy Rose is on the Smackdown women's team, and Natalya and Ruby Riott got into a fight and were kicked off the team by Alexa Bliss, so Bayley and Sasha Banks are the replacements. Also, Lars Sullivan is being brought up soon as a vignette was shown during the kickoff. We start off with the Raw vs. SmackDown 10-team match. It came down to the Usos and Revival, with Jimmy pinning Dawson with a splash off the top rope. The Revival were the stars of the match, but Dawson may have hurt his bad knee doing a tope as it was stuffed later in the match. There was an everyone dive sequence which ended when Gable gave Jimmy Uso a superplex outside the ring onto everyone. Long match, the dive spot was great, the rest of the match was fine. No special heat, but much better than a usual pre-show match. The Colognes were out first, followed by the B-Team, and then Sanity, Eric Young, and Killian Dane. Kalisto did a worked injury, and he was replaced by Gran Metalik. Metalik and Lince Dorado did a double top rope Asai moonsault. The New Day was eliminated by the Shatter Machine when 3 teams were left. Chad Gable was pinned by the Midnight Hour before that. Gable looked good before he was eliminated. So there you have it. Team SmackDown wins the kickoff tag team elimination match. We start the main card with the women's elimination match. Carmella and Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville and Asuka and Naomi taking on Bayley, Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, Mickie James, and Tamina. Nia Jax was the sole survivor, pinning Asuka after 3 leg drops and a Samoan drop. Jax had nuclear heat from the Staples Center tonight. The crowd wasn't much into this except when Jax was in there, and they booed everything she did. Jax also turned on Banks at the end. The work itself was solid. They tried to make Banks versus Asuka into a big deal, but it didn't cross as big as what most people expected. Tamina pinned Naomi with a super kick right away. Carmella pinned Tamina with a schoolboy. Rose pinned James after Deville gave James a running knee. The idea is Rose stole Deville's win. Bayley pinned Carmella with the Bayley to belly. Banks beat Rose with the Banks statement. Bayley and Deville were both counted out of the ring when Bayley gave her a Bayley to belly on the floor. Jax then shoved Banks off the top rope, and Asuka used the Asuka lock on her, leaving only Jax and Asuka, with Jax winning right away. So there you have it. Team Raw wins the women's elimination match. After the match, Stephanie told Corbin that to be a full-time Raw GM, they need to sweep the night. Paige and Shane showed up. After that, we had the United States Champion Shinsuke Nakamura going up against the Intercontinental Champion Seth Rollins. This was another long match. It felt slow early, but built to a very good match. They did all near falls, and Rollins won clean with the curb stomp. Even though SmackDown won the tag team match, it apparently doesn't count because they have a scoreboard that lists Raw now up 2-0. Rollins did a free tope spot early and later did the superplex and Falcon Arrow combination. The crowd was into it in the final minutes, but it fell way short of being a classic. So there you have it. Seth Rollins wins the match for Raw, and now Raw is 3-0. After that match, the Raw team was shown backstage. Braun Strowman said he didn't like you to Lashley, Ziggler, and McIntyre. McIntyre said he's the one who should be giving orders, but me, I'm ending Shane McMahon. Strowman and McIntyre were arguing, and then out of nowhere, R-Truth was backstage giving them a pep talk. Corbin said, "You're not on this team," and to get out. Strowman wasn't allowed to touch Corbin, so he threw Lio Rush into Corbin. After that match, we seen The Bar versus The Authors of Pain. Not much as far as the match went. The finish saw Drake Maverick being chased by Cesaro, and he was running away and ran into Big Show. Big Show was choking Maverick, and he did a gimmick to where he pissed his pants. The Authors of Pain then used their double-team neckbreaker on Sheamus for the pin. This match was shrouded by controversy because the bigger news was that Enzo Amore was in the second row and got ejected out of the arena. The crowd reacted to this, but it never made the air. It killed the crowd for the match. He was pretending he was cutting a promo. He was in disguise, stood up, thought the camera was on him, cut a promo, and he was taken out. He started walking away. The security may have tried to take shots on him. Then the security took him out of the building. After that incident, the SmackDown team was backstage for their pep talk. Miz called himself 2 out of 3 of the best in the world. R-Truth was there. R-Truth asked Shane if he can join the SmackDown roster. Shane said, "You're already on the roster." R-Truth was relieved, saying Raw was a mess. After that match, we see the Cruiserweight Championship match between Cruiserweight Champion Buddy Murphy and Mustafa Ali. This was a great match. The crowd didn't care about it early, but they did all kinds of big moves, and once Ali used a Spanish fly off the announcer's table to the floor, the crowd woke up. The crowd went from not caring to a "this is awesome" reaction. Murphy retained the title when he used a V-trigger as Ali came off the ropes, the same spot that Kenny Omega and Phoenix did, and hit Murphy's Law for the pin. So there you have it, Buddy Murphy still the Cruiserweight Champion. After that match, Daniel Bryan was interviewed. Kayla Braxton asked him if he was ready for Brock Lesnar. He didn't answer. He still had 2 cuts on his nose from Tuesday. After that, we got an unconfirmed report that Enzo was banned from the Staples Center. After all that, we seen the men's Survivor Series match, which I thought was a great match. Early on, McIntyre pinned Joe in 35 seconds to eliminate him, which really got the crowd mad since Joe is from Southern California. Shane McMahon did the elbow off the top rope, putting Strowman through the table, which took both of them out for a while. From there, Mysterio pinned Balor with a 619 and springboard splash. Mysterio and Balor were great working together, making you want to see them in a singles match. Shane, who was selling and with a huge bump on the side of his head from before the match, did the coast-to-coast on Ziggler and pinned him again. The finish of the match saw Strowman make his return, and he quickly powerslammed Hardy, Mysterio, Miz, and Shane in that order to win. So Strowman, McIntyre, and Lashley all survived, and Raw is still unbeaten. Corbin attacked Strowman after the match, and McIntyre and Lashley and Corbin all walked out on Strowman. After that, Rollins did an interview, and they announced in 4 weeks he will defend his title against Dean Ambrose on the December 16th TLC show in San Jose. Our next match was the first of 2 main events. It was the Raw Women's Champion Rowdy, Ronda Rousey, taking on Charlotte Flair. They were having a very good match, rough in spots, but had a very real sport feel that the other matches didn't have. Rousey's mouth was busted open from an inadvertent elbow. The big story is that Charlotte turned strong heel and got cheered like crazy, and they did an angle where after the match Charlotte destroyed Rousey with a kendo stick and left Rousey with brutal looking welts. Rousey was bleeding from the ear, mouth, and her thigh was sliced, and she had marks all over her chest, arms, and back. It was one of the more brutal and intense post-match beatdowns you'll see. Charlotte put a chair around her throat and Rousey got Pillmanized. It looked like a major injury angle, but Rousey actually got up, and they talked about her defending against Nia Jax. Charlotte was having trouble getting the chair in the right spot for the Pillmanizing spot, but it still worked. Fans were chanting, "Thank you, Charlotte," as she destroyed Rousey. This was a super heat angle, and the reaction was the exact opposite of the traditional that you would see. The idea of doing a super sympathy angle backfired as the fans booed Rousey, and they were chanting, "You deserve it." Rousey was really upset leaving because of the reaction. The fans were chanting Becky as she left, and she looked really pissed. As for the match itself, Rousey won via DQ win after a clean match. Charlotte nailed her with a series of kendo stick shots. Rousey was clearly very upset with the crowd as they were doing the "You deserve it" chants. It looked like an injury angle, but she left on her own rather than be helped out. And they pushed that Rousey's next match looks to be against Jax, so this could be a storyline to take the title from her, or at least sell that possibility. At one point in the match, when it hit the high point and fans were chanting "This is awesome," both Rousey and Flair were visibly moved to tears. And in our main event of WWE Survivor Series 2018, it was the Raw vs. Smackdown Champion vs. Champion match. The WWE Universal Champion Brock Lesnar taking on WWE Champion Daniel Bryan. We go to the ring for tonight's main event, and out comes WWE Champion Daniel Bryan. Bryan starts a yes chant but stops. He keeps going from smirk to strange glare at the crowd. Bryan hits the ring and waits for a minute until the music hits. The music plays for a minute or so until WWE Universal Champion Brock Lesnar finally makes his way out with Paul Heyman. Bryan watches from ringside and smirks. Lesnar makes it to the ringside area, and Bryan is already taunting him. JoJo begins formal ring introductions, but Heyman interrupts and does the intro for his client. The bell rings and Bryan rushes in for Lesnar's knee. Lesnar regroups and sizes Bryan up. Bryan jogs around the outside of the ring as Lesnar watches. Bryan looks to go back in the ring, but he stops and wastes some more time. Lesnar goes out after Bryan, but Bryan runs back in the ring. Bryan raises his arms and plays to the crowd. Lesnar returns to the ring as Bryan mocks him and waits. Lesnar catches a kick and drops Bryan with a big shot to the side of the head. Lesnar smiles and picks Bryan up for the first big German suplex, which looked absolutely brutal. The referee checks on Bryan, but he looks laid out already. Lesnar easily drags Bryan over to the middle of the ring and yells out Suplex City to get the chant going. Fans follow the lead. Lesnar easily lifts Bryan and launches him for the second German suplex. Heyman looks shocked at how Bryan was just jumped on his head. Lesnar picks Bryan up by his head and manhandles him in the corner for a second before tossing him across the ring by his head. Bryan grabs Lesnar's ankle as Lesnar looks down at him. Lesnar with a huge belly-to-belly throw across the ring. Lesnar with a third huge throw to Bryan. Lesnar easily kicks Bryan under the bottom rope to the floor, and Lesnar raises his title to boos and cheers. Lesnar sends Bryan into the barrier and then brings him back in. Bryan rolls back out, but Lesnar just ragdolls him into the barrier. Lesnar rolls Bryan back into the ring and follows. The announcers comment on how the crowd has a stunned silence about it. Lesnar lifts Bryan and applies a bear hug in the middle of the ring now. The referee checks on Bryan as Lesnar squeezes. Lesnar just drops Bryan to the mat and laughs over him. Lesnar stalks Bryan and delivers another German suplex, the third. Lesnar stalks Bryan some more as some more boos pick up. Lesnar with another bear hug in the middle of the ring. Lesnar launches Bryan with another belly-to-belly throw. Lesnar scoops Bryan and delivers an F5 in the middle of the ring. Lesnar covers for the pin but stops before the free count. Lesnar is enjoying this, and Lesnar throws Bryan to the mat again. Bryan manages a kick to the face from the mat. A second kick to the neck brings Lesnar down. Lesnar ends up sending Bryan into the referee with an F5, inadvertently knocking him down. Bryan nails a low blow to Lesnar, but the referee didn't see it. Bryan nails the flying knee, but Lesnar kicks out just in time. Heyman screams at ringside as the crowd wakes back up. Bryan with several yes kicks now, keeping Lesnar down. Bryan unloads with many kicks in the corner as fans chant along with him. Bryan unloads with stiff stomps to Lesnar's face now, stunning him. Bryan runs in with another knee attempt, but Lesnar catches him in midair. Bryan slides out and sends Lesnar out of the ring. Bryan launches himself over the top to the floor, but Lesnar catches him. Bryan slides out and pushes Lesnar face first into the ring post. Bryan runs and jumps from the apron, dropping Lesnar on the floor with another knee. Bryan runs the ropes for a suicide dive, but Lesnar catches him and dives him into the ring post like it's nothing. Lesnar lifts Bryan again and rams him spine first into the post. Lesnar grabs half of the steel ring steps and rams them at Bryan, but he moves. Lesnar hits the post and the steps fall on him. Bryan goes back to the apron and hits a flying knee to bring Lesnar back down on the floor. The referee counts and fans count along. Lesnar counters a kick with one of his own. Lesnar brings Bryan in the ring and makes it back in just before the count. Lesnar gets up and Bryan hits the running knee for a close 2 count. Both superstars are slow to get back up now. Bryan takes the knee out from behind with a chop block. Bryan drags Lesnar and slams his leg into the ring post. Lesnar falls to the floor. Bryan brings it back into the ring and goes to the top for a missile drop kick. Bryan starts getting hyped up as Heyman loses his mind at ringside. Bryan charges with another knee and sends Lesnar into the corner. Bryan with another corner drop kick. Bryan charges again, but Lesnar goes for the F5. Bryan counters and drops him into the S-lock. The fans pop as the referee checks on Lesnar in the submission. Lesnar is nowhere near the ropes as Bryan tightens the hold. Lesnar powers out, but Bryan clubs him in the head several times and applies the hold again. Lesnar starts trying to move towards the ropes, but Bryan keeps the hold locked in. Lesnar powers out again, but Bryan applies a triangle hold. They tangle a bit, and Lesnar powers up and drops Bryan with the F5 and covers him for the win. So there you have it. Brock Lesnar beats Daniel Bryan, and Raw is perfect against SmackDown 6-0. After the match, Lesnar's music hits as he starts to get up first while the referee checks on Bryan. Lesnar stands tall as we go to replays. Lesnar exits the ring with the WWE Universal title as Heyman stands with him. Lesnar raises his fist in the air to a mixed reaction. Lesnar limps up the ramp and looks back at Bryan in the ring. Bryan is still down on the mat, but he watches Lesnar leave, and Survivor Series goes off the air with Lesnar looking back at the ring and smiling. This pay-per-view had a mixed reaction from fans. Some fans really enjoyed the pay-per-view. Some of them hated the pay-per-view. A lot of them really hated the fact that SmackDown didn't even win a single match, and they felt as though the WWE was trying to force Monday Night Raw onto people and making them believe it was the A show. So there was some controversy there with that, and of course the controversy with Enzo Amore in that tag team match. So that is the results of WWE Survivor Series. Raw sweeps SmackDown to a mixed reaction from the crowd in the arena and online. I will see you here tomorrow for another Jammin' John's Wrestling News Flash briefing. Until then, stand by for the results of NXT TakeOver War Games 2 from last night if you have an Amazon Alexa device. This is Jammin' John saying thanks, goodbye, and I'll see you tomorrow.